Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarappel, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod. Turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. Welcome back, awesome movers and shakers. It's another super no name brand podcast week with moi, Sashka Hanarappel, and it's so great to have you back this week. Okie dokie, folks. So today's episode is going to be all about content marketing and branding. Now, as you may know, this is my shizzle, but what I'm so looking forward to is learning some more tips and tricks in the world of branding and marketing, because you can never learn enough. And if you think you're a smartass and you know everything, well, then step into that coffin and bye-bye, because you can never know enough. So our next guest, with 8 years old, boldly told her mama that she was going to design clothes. At 17, she fell pregnant, then got married and had a second child. With 25, she started a clothing company. She then brought on investors a year later and built that business to bring in millions of sales. Unfortunately, the business fell apart after 6 years. Did she take that as a no? Hell no. She started her second clothing brand and ran it via email marketing and Facebook marketing for 7 years. Now, today she empowers and helps other personal brand owners get aligned and clear with brand communication and visuals so that they can be consistent and shine brightly online, because we like being bright and shiny. Now, why go from a design company to empowering others with aligned brand communication? Well, let's dive in and find out more, shall we? Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome her. Please put your hands together for Sky Marcano. Did I pronounce that right, Sky?
Yes, you did. Yay! Thank you for having me. Hi.
Thank you for being here. It's always so cool when I see your name on the list of friends and everything, or your name, because one of my best friends, her daughter's name is Sky, and I've only got good impressions of her. So every time I say, okay, it's Sky.
That's awesome. I haven't met very many people with the name Sky, so that's so awesome.
But she's on the other side of the world. Well, she's moving there. They're going to Australia. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So tell us, Sky, why did you go from clothing design company to brand communication? Why that profession change?
It was a change, and it was a big wake-up call for me. I went in kind of like the 8-year-old little girl, like, I'm going to design clothes. And I didn't know anything about the industry. And through the growth of the business, I learned so much. You know, I was visiting factories almost daily. I was learning about cutting and sewing and just crazy things that I didn't expect in the industry. And I put my head down and kind of by accident became kind of a design-aholic, workaholic. Like, I was just totally addicted and obsessed with it. And I didn't even look up. I don't know if that expression, but, you know, like, I just put my head down for 6 years, didn't look up. And then I looked up and I couldn't believe what had happened, and the partnership had kind of crashed, and I had crashed, really. I realized after 10 years of looking at it that I was crashing. I had put my life and heart and soul into it and learned so much, and it was an incredible experience, the best experience of my life. And then I started the second one, and that was amazing too, because things were switching over to Facebook, like people were starting to be on Facebook. So it was an incredible experience with the Facebook marketing and the email marketing. And I kept going and going for another 7 years. So that was crazy.
Sky,
but I did that in
evil laugh.
Yes. So I continued to obsess over design, and it was incredible. I had amazing customers that I actually still have in my current business. They were so obsessed with the clothing, and the whole thing was amazing. The second clothing brand was smaller and more independent because that's how I wanted it. I didn't want the high stress. But then I realized after 16 years that we can make money in a happy, joyful way. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the clothing industry was only about 10% creative that I spent. So, and fortunately, I learned so much about building brands and businesses and marketing and all of that incredible stuff and the Facebook marketing and everything, networking and going on the shopping channel. I learned so much that I wasn't expecting right? But I'm still a creator. I'm still creative. And I love it that I have the business background and experience because I can share that with my clients now. But I had to really step back and kind of face the facts that I was kind of not happy doing the 10 different hats and, I don't know, cash flow and profit margins and cutting fabric and stuff that I realized was making me a little bit unhappy. So now with my current intuitive brand art and social media business coaching, I wake up inspired. I wake up in love with what I'm doing because I get to connect with my clients on a deeper level and I get to be creative every single day. And when those sales come in, I feel great. And man, it took me like forever to get to that point. But I feel amazing when the sales come in. And that is like huge.
Oh, man. What marketing developments have you seen over the past 7 years whilst doing email and Facebook marketing? I mean, for your own clothing brand, what was working then that may not work today? Or perhaps still work?
Okay, let me take you back to the first time. I think it was my husband. I'm going to take these out. The first time I decided to start selling online, it was kind of foreign and interesting because I had been selling wholesale and retail and was literally going door to door physically and going on the shopping and everything was physical, right? Traveling. So when I decided to sit at my computer and say, okay, computer, you're going to make me money. You know, it was just a completely foreign, weird thing. And I had about 300 friends on Facebook, just friends from high school and all that. And then I had my business page and I had reconnected with some of my customers from my previous business. So I had a good following still were following me because I had such raving fans from the first company. So I remember sitting there with my husband and posting a tank top with a really awesome screen print that I had designed. So it was black and the screen print was silver and it was really like this amazing photo. And this is why I'm so passionate about helping people with visuals because this was a light bulb moment. And this was about 8 or 10 years ago. And he said, why don't you post it and see how many people say they want to buy it? And I posted it and the reach was huge back then with Facebook. Zuckerberg, he let everybody see it. And I remember, I can't remember for sure, and I think I took a screen capture, but it was like 200 likes and like tons and tons of comments, I want to buy this. So I pre-sold the tank top and I started collecting money before I even made the run. And then again, I was like, whoa, this is a great way to sell clothing. I was super stoked because before I wasn't taking the money first. I was like making it and then giving the product. This way, I was making all of this money through email before I even cut it. And so I could see the commitment from the customers and then I just got into it. And that's what I did for like 7 years. And it was amazing. So that has changed. We're paying for Facebook ads. The reach isn't like that. But that was an incredible experience. And at the time, everyone would see the posts, right? Yeah.
That's pretty. So visuals is a huge thing when you're doing, well, that was a big thing that where you made the realization it was like, oh, hang on a moment. This is where it's not so much the writing, especially in e-commerce. You have
product base is very different than services. So I find the writing and the content is extremely important if you have a services business like I have now. So the group coaching, writing and lives. Well, for me personally, when I dive in with content creation with people, we would discuss what platform and what way you want to create it that's unique to you because everyone's different. For me personally, live stream, that's where I make my sales, and writing, like long writing, beautiful posts. But that could be different for another personal brand owner. It could be totally different. You could thrive doing videos and posting them on YouTube. You know, it could be a totally different element for you. So I've noticed with services, the writing and the live stream works. But with products, the most beautiful pictures is probably because they're buying the product. Yeah. So it's fairly simple method with products.
Well, it's how do you find, like with products and products and services in the marketing, whether it be a visual or it's a copy or it's a post, there's always that cognitive dissonance when someone sees something and they go, oh my God, that's such a cool dress. And then you kind of like, yeah, but I don't know the company. Maybe they're going to scam me. And then you kind of like scroll past it.
Yes. So that brings me to the idea and point and concept, and I believe this to be true, that personal branding is where it's at, guys, because it is so noisy out there and there are companies without a face and la la la. So personal branding, in my opinion, like when I started my second clothing company, I was starting from a brand marketing point of view as a personal brand. I didn't know it at the time because we marketed my story. I was the face of the brand of the first company. My story, why I started it, when I was a single mother, every single personal aspect to my story was put into that brand marketing content. So the second company I carried through with that story, continued with the story, and had that connection with everyone. So people knew a lot about me. So I believe in sharing stories and content about your life. And, you know, I had a customer message me the other day saying, I don't want to share too much of my story. And there was this whole other background, like afraid. And I know lots of people are afraid, but you can pick and choose. I'm going to be running a content creation course starting June 1st. And you can pick, and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to talk to the people that are afraid of sharing too much? And I think what you do is you start from the base and you say, okay, what is my story and what can I take out of that I'm comfortable sharing with people? Because that connection is so valuable. I believe it's worth millions of dollars. I mean, I'm kind of living proof for that. Like when you can really connect to your story and your why, and really dive deep, people, they feel like they know you. They feel like you know you. So I feel like I've had a personal brand my entire career.
When people are starting, just even sharing stories, and I used to say this to my clients as well, is that it's all good and well that you're sharing a story. Make sure at the end there's some kind of call to action, that in between there's somewhere it's not just the story, but that you're actually giving like pointers or steps on what they should be doing. But what do you advise your clients when they're writing a vulnerable posts in general? Or not vulnerable, just personal stories. What should they be including in there? Because some people can get really deep and really intimate information where you kind of like, do you want to share that on social media? Like, I don't even know you. Like, why are you doing that? What do you advise your clients?
Well, now that I think about it, I see the same thing as you do online. And it's so different now. When I was writing my brand story or content, it was for our clients that we would meet with and they would read it, or it was for our brand packages that we would send out in the mail. So now it's like all we talk about is posting and how does that come across? Well, I honestly think that it's how comfortable you are. If you're uncomfortable, don't do it. Because I think freedom of expression and speaking your truth is okay if you're comfortable with it. I see people that are using swear words and saying really harsh stuff, but I'm sitting there reading it going, wow, this is cool. This is cool. Yeah. This person is kind of comfortable with it. And wow, I kind of, maybe one day I could do that too. I don't know. Yeah. This is crazy. And I love watching the evolution of the Facebook marketing and like all this stuff. But I totally agree with you. Nowadays, you have to have a call to action or some way for people to connect with you. But yeah, I think it's your comfort zone, and I think it's unique to you as a human being. Like, what are you comfortable with? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one of my blogs, for instance, is my family members. So I would share like 500% more of my life. I'm a very open person. I don't really care. I would share anything on social media because I love connecting with people. I think that's what brings us together. And I love that feeling of being able to relate and connect and all that stuff, but I have a major block still. I mean, I'm getting out of it a little bit nowadays, but you know, I have family members that are really private and they're like, what is Sky doing? What are you doing online? Whoa, like this, you're intense. And yeah.
You're intense.
Yeah.
Ooh, you just don't know how tense I'm So what is your explanation of intuitive branding?
Well, so I have two different areas in my business. So I do the brand art and social media images for clients, but I also do the social media business coaching, which includes strategy as well. So it's two kind of different things. So the intuitive brand art part is when I meet with a client, we have a conversation. And then we go to the designing, because I believe that you need to connect to your clients. So you could hire a graphic designer and they could do all this crazy stuff for you. But if you don't really dive deep into the client and what they need and want and what symbols they want, what kind of clients they have, I mean, there's so many different layers to a business, especially a personal brand, that I believe having that intuitive conversation is really, really important before you create something. So I've had clients or potential clients, and I can tell right away they are not connecting to my vision or art. So it's like, okay, we're not going to do this together. Like, you are not going to like my abstract watercolor trippy stuff. That's okay. My clients would be people that want to have these bright, crazy things, right? Yeah, that's just the way. And I've done simple corporate stuff too. I mean, obviously I come from a little bit of corporate background, so I know how to do it. And I've taken clients on that understand my work and can guide me. It's a co-creation thing with that part, because I don't believe any kind of art you can create for someone if you're just doing it from your head. I think you have to bring in the client and say, hey, do you like this?
That's so true.
Yeah.
What do you love about branding?
Well, I love connecting and meeting new people. I don't know why, but I love the whole networking part. Like, I just love tech. I love tech. I love the fact that we're talking. I don't know where you are. I think you're in the UK and I'm in Canada. And like, I just love where it's all going. Like, it's shocking and surprising and exciting.
What do your clients love about branding?
I think a lot of my clients come sort of like lost and confused. They're a little like, what do I post and how do I make it consistent? And they're kind of indecisive about it. So I think once they get their imagery set, it's a fine balance. Like, I feel like you could spend thousands of dollars on your imagery, but if you aren't clear on your brand messaging and your content and all of that, then the imagery will just sit there. So you kind of have to work on both to bring it together. I think that's why I do both. Yeah, I think you need to work on both at the same time, and they kind of are parallel together. And I think the people I've met that are in the personal branding realm, I think they love being out there too. And the global thing is the best. Well, I know that's why I love it. I love the whole global part.
I love that. And then, just the diversity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Where should entrepreneurs start with their content marketing? What are some do's and don'ts? Why would you say those are do's and don'ts?
Do's and don'ts. Ooh, I don't know about don'ts, because I feel like if I didn't do half of the mistakes that I made, I wouldn't be where I am. So like, I feel like you kind of have to fail forward. And like, if you're like, oh, I would love to post that, let me try it, or let me do it. Like, I kind of believe in experiment. I know that sounds crazy, guys, but kind of have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit to learn what doesn't work so that you can do more of what works. So learn what doesn't work for you as a personal brand owner or business owner, and then find out what people love from you and do more of that.
Yeah. And where should entrepreneurs start with content marketing? Like, is there a starting point? Because it's just such a big area to start diving into.
I think figuring out who your ideal client is. Who are you speaking to? Who are you wanting to serve? Who are you helping? What are the benefits? What type of person is going to buy from you? And what do they need from you that you have that they don't?
Yeah. When I think of content marketing, there's not so much the do's and don'ts, but just the boo-boos. Like, what are like little faux pas that we shouldn't be doing when you're doing your content marketing? Are there little, I don't know, like, I know it's individual for person to person or soul to soul, but there are little things where it's like, this definitely needs to be in there always. A quote or this or that or whatever.
Yeah, okay. I can think of a few things that I've watched. People might be like, oh, I need my brand imagery. I need everything concise and consistent. Let's bring in the word consistency. So you can say you want your brand imagery and everything to look consistent, but if you're not handling your social media images and putting messy quotes up and messy imagery and low quality images, and you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Stop now, please. Get someone to lay the font out for you. If you really honestly have about 10 different fonts to put on your social, don't do it. I feel that's a huge mistake, because you won't be recognizable anywhere if it's all over the place. I think we've all been there. I've been there. Things aren't consistent and they don't come across that way to your ideal clients, your potential clients, and then it's less likely they're going to recognize you. So you might get bored with your background or whatever you've chosen, or your colors, and it's okay to change and pivot, of course, like we all evolve and change, but try and stay in line with that consistency. And I find it's the same. Like, I think one of the biggest mistakes people can do is disappear and stop creating content. And where is that person that I was falling in love with? And I'm learning so much right now, because I'm doing an official course launch, which is huge for me. because I've just sort of randomly sold stuff and it's been great, but I'm using a bunch of methods right now for launching. And what I've realized is people love you. If they're following you, they like you. They want your content. They want to see you. And they almost rely on that content. So try like using the scheduler and using things if you're going away or you need to go away, or just pop in to say hello and say, hey, I'm still here. I think that's really important. I think it's a big mistake to stop being consistent randomly.
Randomly, exactly. What I wanted to ask you was what you think are major differences that you see in marketing for e-commerce, like products and the clothing line that you have the experience from, and the services. Because you mentioned this before, between products and services when you're selling there. Are there differences in the marketing?
I was just talking to someone about this. Yeah, the difference, which I've kind of had to really remind myself of because I have been selling products for years, is the difference is people want to know the features of a product. So that's why the visual is really easy with your products, like beautiful images on Instagram. If they see, say, a coffee mug they really like, well, they see it and they love it. They can see the features like visually. You don't have to tell them that they should love it because they'll probably fall in love with it if they see it visually. But you have to communicate with services. You have to communicate the benefits, and they have to actually see it written down, because you can't just show a picture of yourself and say, my services are going to change your life with a picture of Sky. It's like you have to really figure out how to get them to understand that they will benefit from these services. It's a totally different thing. That's why I'm so obsessed with content creation, because that communication and the way you express those benefits and the brand positioning and all that is what's going to sell your services. Where as opposed to products, it's easier to see if you want a pair of leggings because they're pink and you love pink. It's just easy. That's my interpretation of it anyway.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. So we're coming to the end of the podcast, and I'd love to ask you how you would like to change or challenge the world doing what you do.
I would like women or anyone that feels afraid or hesitant to share and express and write more brand content and create more brand content to become confident and excited and in flow with that. And I want to change the world through expression, and I want to uplift and empower people to express more and speak their truth. I really feel passionate about that.
Cool. I'd love to hear your take on 3 of my core values. What does passion mean to you?
Passion means you can't stop.
Can't stop feeling.
I can't stop. I gotta get up and do this. Like, this is crazy.
Cool. What does creativity mean to you?
Endless possibilities.
Cool. And wisdom for you is?
Experience and using that to create wisdom within yourself.
Awesome. Sky, thank you so much for being with us here today. And for the listeners, you can find out more about Sky in the show notes, where you can hook up with her on social media, her favorite book, her favorite quote, her website. You can find out more about her. And she may even just have a little special gift for you too. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing your insight and knowledge and your experience with us. That was awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. That was so awesome. Thank you. I'm really happy that I was able to meet you today.
Yeah, cool. Me too. It's always lovely meeting people from around the world. And in Canada!
Yeah!
Awesome. And to you, the listeners, keep going higher, wider, deeper, fast, furious, and keep moving and shaking and sharing your awesomeness with the world, because the world needs you. We need to hear your message. Have an awesome week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. Dang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review, and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.